Welcome, everyone, to Screams After Midnight. I'm Peter. I'm joined by Tim.
That's it. Nothing. That's just Tim today.
Yeah, just Tim.
All right. Well, thank you. As always, it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sorry, did you want a scroll of nicknames and build up and
Well, I never know with you, so I never know when to jump in and start doing my thing.
fanfare, trumpets?
I mean, that's what I deserve. I feel like, but whatever.
Get on the floor and go, "You are not worthy," or "I am not worthy. I am not worthy." No, is that what
Well,
you
I
want,
mean,
Tim? Is that what you want? Your ego needs to be inflated that much?
well, I mean, it's what we do in private. So,
Oh dear. Okay, so this, of course, is a horror movie show, and we talk about horror movies.
of course.
And in this episode, we are going to be talking about Lights Out, which is a new horror film that just came out. Um, and it is directed by David F. Sandberg, who hasn't really done anything notable, but he is doing something kind of notable next.
Sausage Party 2.
Is a two, is a sequel.
Okay.
It's not Sausage Party though.
Okay. I just when you said his last name, I instantly thought of sandwich. So I kind of am only thinking of food right now.
Well, we know where Tim's mind's at right now. No, he's apparently directing Annabelle 2.
Oh, I didn't even realize they were
Oh,
making a sequel.
yeah.
Hey, that doll's got legs. I feel like there's more to her story that we haven't heard yet.
Well, we didn't get any of her story in the first one, so sure.
Hey, I'm with you, Annabelle. Good luck to you. I look forward to seeing your cinematic exploits.
Nah, that first one was garbage, Tim. Garbage.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Was it though?
100%. Absolutely.
You, you sure about that?
Not a shadow of a doubt, Tim.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I'd bet my life on it.
Hmm.
I'd bet your life on it.
Don't bring me into this.
So yeah, that's who's directing this. So Lights Out, and we'll start spoiler free as we always do.
Mhm.
We will give you warning before we go into what we call the spoiler crypt. About halfway through. So Lights Out is a movie about a creature or entity that can't go into the light and only appears in the darkness, and
Mhm.
starts preying on this family. Um, who the main character is the elder daughter who is like an adult and has moved out, but the younger son who still lives with the mother
Mhm.
is terrified of this thing showing up at the house at night. And there's like a backstory that comes into it, and it sort of all comes into like the mother's past, and she seems to so it seems to be like a big thing from her like childhood and stuff that's showing up again.
Mhm.
And the mother's a little bit
Mhm.
crazy. Like right away from the start of the movie, she's like not sane.
Yeah,
So
she's cuckoo.
she's cuckoo. Yeah, that is the technical word. Tim, did you enjoy Lights Out?
Been waiting a while to talk about this movie with you. Um, Here's the thing. I
You know, Tim, I just want to stop you right there.
Okay.
I feel like there's only one way it's going to go when you start your opinion on a movie with, "Here's the thing."
Well, all right. You might be surprised,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm interested in seeing what how you feel. But I would not call this a good movie. um, I feel like there are some pretty big things that kind of annoyed me about it that would prevent me from, like being super excited and cheerleading it. However, after I saw it, I did actually have fun. I was entertained. So, it's one of those things where I don't, I can't really say it's a good movie, but I still had a fun time when I saw it, if that makes any sense.
No, I can. I'm with you. I'm getting what
Okay.
you're saying. I'm smelling what you're
Okay.
cooking.
I don't like, again, it's like, spoiler crypt's not open, so I don't want to go
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah.
too much
Well,
detail. Like, well, I hated that. But
no, we're
yeah,
just
that,
we're doing general
yeah.
general thoughts just now to give an idea. Now, for me, this was a movie that had a lot of good ideas, and it had
Yes.
some good moments.
Yes.
And because if there's one thing I love in a horror movie, and you know this about me, Timmy, it's
Yeah.
when, especially when there's a supernatural entity of some kind involved. You know, when there's either, will it be a ghost or will it be something else? You
Right.
know,
Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say.
whether
Yeah.
we're talking Freddy Krueger or something like It Follows,
Mhm.
I like when there's rules.
Yes.
I like
I agree
when
100%.
Yeah, I like when there's a set of rules and that the characters then use those rules to try and survive or exploit the evil force or whatever. I really like that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
However, and while this movie does some of that, I feel
Mhm.
like it never quite fully commits to it. Like it gets very close and then
Mhm.
just kind of backs off at the last second. And I felt like it did that repeatedly for me throughout the movie.
I feel like it starts off with, very simple stuff where it is just, the very obvious, like light switch on and off. It's in the dark. Now the light's on, it's away, kind of thing. But then there was a couple of moments throughout the movie, especially towards the end, where I thought they really did some interesting things,
Hmm.
with lights and I felt the same way. Like, yeah, I also like the rules and stuff. What I think is probably the most standout thing about this movie is they have a creature, monster, whatever, where it does have this kind of unique set of rules that's established very early on, and then you have the rest of the movie to kind of play with how to, how the heroes can subvert it, and then how the monster will try to um, fuck around
Hmm.
with what they did. And there were definitely a couple of times where they did some cool stuff where I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. I wouldn't have thought of that or whatever." But yeah, like you said, it never really goes far enough to really wow you. Like there's little brief glimpses of I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but yeah, it needed that final push to really put it over the edge.
It did. It's kind of like some really good ideas and moments
Yeah.
wrapped in a more generic kind of like plot
Mhm.
because like there's certain tropes in horror movies now when I'm kind of ready for like filmmakers to be like, you know what? No, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid doing this scene.
Yeah.
And the scene that I'm thinking of right now, without getting into the details for spoiler reasons, is you know
Mhm.
there's that scene in every movie, especially when there's a supernatural thing going on,
Mhm.
where the character is either researching or finding evidence,
Oh, yeah.
and we get the scene where there's like a montage of like lots of close-ups of like bits of text that they're looking at in pages
Oh, yes, yes,
as you
yes.
hear just nothing but exposition being thrown at you. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
here's the backstory of this thing, for
Yeah.
like 2 minutes just spoken, and I'm like, this movie would have been much more interesting if
Mhm.
either we had flashbacks or, especially if it was flashbacks that we didn't understand at first. Like
Yeah.
say this movie opened with just scenes from what the backstory is, and I'll get to this in more detail when we go into spoilers. But
Yeah.
and you didn't really know what was going on, and then as the
Mhm.
movie went on and it kept going back, you kind of understood, right?
Yeah.
Like. But no, instead we get the character. Oh, let's read all these pages and things and have exposition dump just thrown at us.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I get why it happens and I get why people do this, but
Mhm.
the more I see it and the longer I've been watching horror movies, the more
Mhm.
that scene sticks out as being, this just feels kind of lazy now. Like, do something
Yeah.
else. Get this information to us in a more interesting way. How does telling us where this thing came from become entertaining in and of itself? Because right now this isn't entertaining. This scene, it's just
No.
here's information.
And I'll tell you, that was actually one of my biggest gripes of the movie is I thought the backstory of the monster, ghost, whatever creature, whatever you want to call it, I thought that was so stupid. Uh, Again, won't go into details here, but
Yeah,
uh, I thought it was pretty lame. I probably would have preferred almost like no backstory or just something really
I
quick and simple.
I didn't mind all of it. There was parts of the backstory I liked, and there was parts that I didn't. But we'll get into
Yeah.
that when we talk spoilers. Um, there are some cool
Uh,
moments. There's some good things even when it's simple at the start of the movie, when it's just light off, you can see it light on.
Yeah.
It's not there and like constantly going back and forth. Um,
Yeah.
that at least as a basis for a movie is actually a really good thing
Yeah.
because it is a really effective, simple technique, and for the most part, it works really well. I do think there was a couple of moments where okay, they had to put in the loud noise to make it scarier, which annoyed me, but um,
That that was another problem I had was it was pretty heavy on the jump scares,
however,
which
right, as much as I'm
yeah.
complaining about the jump scare noises that they
Mhm.
used occasionally, I actually thought the sound mix. And how often do we talk about the sound mix on this show? Not often,
Quite frankly, never.
but there was
Or
legitimately a couple of moments in this film where the sound was so good
mhm.
that I actually thought there was a sound coming from inside the cinema. Which, by the way,
Oh, cool.
in the theater when I seen this, I was alone. I was the only person in the room.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Um, which might have heightened the creepy factor, to be honest, a little bit
Yeah.
because it just felt kind of eerie. But particularly, there's a moment where
Mhm.
the main character wakes up, Rebecca, I think her name is, and
Mhm.
there's like a scratching noise over to
Oh,
the
yeah.
left. And in the
Mhm.
theater, that was actually coming from behind me over to the left.
Mhm.
And I legit turned around thinking it was in the room
Oh, that's pretty cool.
because I never realised that it was part of the sound mix. And then I was like, oh, it's
Mhm.
part of the sound. Okay, right, never mind. And the other time was when, at one point, the kid, Martin, again,
Mhm.
it's near the start of the movie when he gets out of bed because he hears voices coming from another room.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realise that was part of the movie, that noise.
The
I thought I was hearing the movie from the next room.
Is it like whispering?
No, it wasn't even
Or is it?
whispering. It just sounded like someone like talking from
Oh, okay.
like another room, like in the house.
Yeah.
But it sounded like it was the movie next door that was maybe too
Yeah.
loud, and I was hearing it.
Okay.
So I'll give them some credit. There's some good sound work in there where it
Yeah.
legit sounded like there was, maybe this is just the era of like Dolby Atmos and these
Yeah.
new sound, platforms that are like extra amazing, but it was
Yeah.
it stood out to me. So anyway,
That's cool.
continue.
Yeah, a little jealous. I saw it on the Friday that it came out, which in the States is out a little earlier. It's like a few weeks earlier. But yeah, it was a pretty crowded theater, and people weren't too bad. It was a little talky at times, which was kind of annoying.
Hmm.
Um, Overall, not too bad though. But I do love like when you go to see a horror movie and you're the only person in the theater. That's happened to me a few times. That's how I saw the first Insidious like that, which was really cool. That
Yeah,
gives that little extra creepiness to it.
yeah. I think when I seen Insidious, I was like one of maybe five people,
Yeah.
in the room, which good fun.
And I will give this movie, I'll induct it into a new award that I'm giving, which is the Bruised Arm uh, Award, which basically basically just means if when I go see these movies with my girlfriend, if she like holds my arm too tight, uh,
And you legit had a
and
bruise afterwards.
um, not this time, but pretty close.
Okay.
But I'll give it the bruise for effort. Uh, it was the earlier in the year when I saw the gift actually ended up getting a bruise, which wasn't even very scary. But there was like one jump scare, which it must have been like the angle she was holding my arm. But yeah, that's something that I'm gauging how scary movies are now. How tight my arm's being held onto.
Oh dear. As far as the characters go, I think the main girl Rebecca's fine. I do think her younger brother Martin suffers a little bit from the movie kid syndrome, where he doesn't really speak like he's a kid the entire time. He
Yeah, it's like
he
go, just like fucking go hang out with that little wiener from The Ring. This fucking kid trying to sound like more adult than
Cause,
he is.
yeah, because like you never see him give a crap about anything that a kid would care about. It's just
Yeah.
constantly, oh, my mother's crazy. Like, I'm scared to go to sleep. Now, that's not to say there's no like contextual character stuff, because I did notice that he's a big DC fan, because there was like Batman,
Yep.
Superman, and Justice League stuff everywhere. And amusingly,
Yeah.
at the sister's house, her apartment,
I saw. Yeah.
there was Sandman
Sandman.
Absolute editions on the shelf.
Yeah.
Um, they're making use of the fact that they're partly owned by Warner Brothers this time,
Yeah.
for all these inclusions. But
Yeah, it was like like I wonder if like general audiences notice that much or if it's just because we're comic book nerds. But like every
yeah,
time I'd see like a Justice League poster in the background or like a Superman figure or something, and then yeah, the Sandman at the sister's house. Like wow, this is like one DC loving family.
yeah, because it was because you first see Martin and he's wearing a Batman T-shirt, like in a photo,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then the camera like pans out across his room and there's like a Robin statue, and then there's a Justice League poster. And I'm like, I'm really getting a picture of who this kid is here. This
Yeah.
is what's going on here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. The truth is that it's a New Line movie, which is actually part of Warner Brothers, which owns DC. So it was probably just a cheap way of putting in things that meant things
They
to
have,
people. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah.
That's
So
one thing.
oh, go on.
Sorry. You're kind of hitting a lot of the points of that were problems with the movie for me. Which one of them, and it's actually something I've been noticing more in the movies we watch. I don't know if it's just having to watch them for the podcast, having a little bit more of a critical eye. Maybe I didn't kind of notice this stuff before, but the characters, there wasn't really anything wrong with them, but they just seem like so like generic horror movie characters. Like there wasn't really anything that interesting about them. Like I feel like they're trying to kind of give like the older sister a personality, like her and her boyfriend, by making like, oh, they're rock guys, they're music rock guys, but it didn't feel like authentic to me. It just felt like really generic cookie cutter characters.
Do you know? I'm of two minds about this. I think this movie straddles the line. It's kind of like what I said earlier, where it's reaching for things and it's almost getting there, but it's just kind of falling
Yeah.
slightly short with the characters. And because there's this whole like subplot in the movie where her boyfriend, like she keeps saying he's not his boyfriend, and he's trying to like get
Yeah.
her to admit that he's, that they're actually a couple.
Yeah.
But it's done in a fun enough way where they're smiling about it and they're kind of joking that, whatever. And that was fine, and it was giving them a bit of character, and it made some of like the moments where like later on in the third act where like you maybe think it's going to break down or whatever, and then maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it does kind of give them an arc, which is more than what some horror movies do, but it does
Yeah.
straddle this line of them just being these such like generic, as you say, like horror
Yeah.
characters, but at the same time there was the odd moment where I'm like, oh, there's actually a little bit of life in there,
Yeah.
like they're trying really hard, but there's just, I don't know, it's really because
It's not like yeah, like I do feel like they are trying a little bit like you say, but it's not like something like fucking like the first Nightmare on Elm Street or something where like you remember Heather Langenkamp's character or whatever, like you can it's
Nancy,
Nancy, like it's like
which you didn't
you
remember, ironically.
I was using the actress's name, you fucking idiot. Uh, but I'm saying like those like or like the fucking the lady from Halloween whose name I actually don't remember. But
Oh my god, Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. My god,
there you go.
professor in full air quotes.
Whatever. It's it's not important. But I'm saying those characters are like memorable characters. Like even if you don't remember their names, you still like can like picture them in their head. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like even if you remember this movie 10 years down the line, I don't think you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that chick, or like if they do a sequel or something. I doubt people are like, oh man, like I really want to find out what happens to these characters. It's like, yeah, you can do a sequel, but who cares? New characters doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, well, I feel like these other like classic horror movies, like you actually kind of felt attached to the characters. They had a personality. You wanted to see them in like feature installments and stuff.
Yeah, I think they do a decent job with it, just because they actually like. There's some good acting from the sister sometimes when she's looking after her brother, when she's kind of reluctant, she's kind of immature, but she's kind of taking responsibility because their mother's fucked in the head and the son needs a guardian. And
Yeah.
there was occasional scenes that I thought were done quite well. So I think it is a case of they're kind of generic, but there's some acting and direction, like
Yeah.
skill that's got into this that's elevating a bit above, say, something like, I don't know, like Darkness Falls, like to just name a random
Yeah.
shit horror movie from the last 10 or 15
Yeah.
years. Because there was times with the music where it was kind of reminding me of those types of horror movies from the mid 2000s, but it was definitely better than those. Like there was things to like and appreciate. It was just
Yeah, it definitely tries, and it gets closer. I feel like, than most films. But yeah, it never like quite crosses that line into kind of being above, whatever you want to call that kind of generic middle of the road kind of line. But yeah, I can definitely see, where it was a little better than most. And who knows, maybe, you said it was this guy's first movie. Maybe, he's just gonna get better and better, and Annabelle 2 will be really rollicking good time.
do you know what, Tim? Do you know what I just realised?
What's that?
Before Annabelle 2 comes out, we're going to have to do Annabelle 1.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I hated that movie so much. So much. Anyway, is that it for spoiler free? Is there anything else we can add into spoiler free? I don't think so. I think
No.
we've exhausted all of the
Mhm.
all of the general stuff before we can get into specifics. So we're heading into the spoiler crypt. So from this point on, full spoilers for Lights Out. That's the movie we're talking about. Took me a second.
You're
Hey,
making
you-
fun of me for not remembering stuff. Can't remember the name of the movie we're doing.
Yeah, but the difference is, Tim, I didn't start that sentence with, this movie's really memorable. What's his name again?
Whatever. I'm smarter than you.
Oh, we shall see. Kimasabi. We shall see. Anyway, so full spoilers. So, let's talk about the backstory first then, since it was a point
It's
you
dumb.
wanted to talk about. So, we found out that obviously the mother's like kind of crazy, and she did go into a mental institute at well, not at the start of the movie, in her past. She went, which was a kid, she went to like a mental institute for depression.
I'm
And-
surprised it wasn't Arkham Asylum.
and there she met a girl who was there for other psychotic reasons called Diana. Which, by the way, given that they were showing a lot of Justice League stuff, and then there was a character named Diana, I just kept thinking of Wonder Woman. Maybe that's just me. But who was like burned, she had like burns all over her body, and she was kind of like weird, and she had this weird sensitivity to light. So you obviously you know right away this is the character that's become whatever this
Yeah.
is. And they kind of became friends, although the research or the evidence that Rebecca finds in this box suggests that the doctors believe that Diana get in people's heads, which started
Yeah.
to really remind me of The Ring. Like,
Yeah.
I was getting such Ring vibes from this backstory.
It's weird. There's a little bit of Ring, kind of. I felt like a little bit of Darkness Falls, like you mentioned earlier too. Just because I think wasn't there like a light component to that movie as well?
There was, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there was like a weird mix of like other like horror movies that I felt like throughout it.
Honestly, I never even thought of that, but that must be why my mind went there.
Yeah.
When I thought of an example earlier. Yeah, that must be it. No, I didn't mind all this so far. Like, I actually, well, maybe
Yeah.
I like the fact that she met her at a mental hospital, and I like that
Yeah.
she had a light sensitivity. I'm like, okay, right, I can see, like, you're planting these
Yeah.
seeds for how she became.
I'm fine
which-
with that. That's
Um,
that's not the part I had issues with. That
what's
was
the
fine
part?
to me.
What's the part you have issues with, Tim?
The like weird experimental cure they tried giving her that like fucking kills her. Was it like it like explodes her? Like or
It's not even.
something?
It's not even explodes. They basically try some sort of cure involving lights, and it leaves what looks like, you know how in Hiroshima, and you see those like shadows of people up against the wall.
Yeah.
It basically leaves that in the chair of just this like sort of like shadow dust of whoever
Oh.
she was.
It's like a fucking cartoon. Like she's just like turned to ashes or something. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So then it becomes clear.
And, what the hell is wrong with these doctors? Like you know me, I don't know much about medicine, but I know like if someone like if you're fucking allergic to cats, you just don't start be like, I have a radical new therapy. Let me throw cats at this person until they're cured. It's like what the fuck?
in a weird way, Tim, that actually is kind of a thing.
No, it's not.
No, it
Moving
is
on.
like to get over an allergy, you do like get used to it. Like that is a legit way of like curing an allergy.
No, not here in the States, buddy. We,
Because
once we find something we don't like, we stay away.
you can grow out of an allergy.
Like
Like
build up a tolerance.
yeah, build up a
Yeah.
tolerance. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Nah, I still say these doctors were fucking dumb as shit.
No,
If they're just like, "Oh, let's just like explode her with light."
Admittedly, the comparison to this example in the movie would be if you're allergic to cats and you're thrown in a room with 100 cats.
Yeah,
Right, you don't build up tolerance by going to 100. You start with one.
yeah,
Start with one that you see a couple of times a day, and then
yeah.
go from there.
Right.
You
There you go.
Yeah. So
So what did you think though? Did you did you like this part? Did it do it for you?
uh,
Did you stand up in the theater going, "Oh, that's a good origin," as I imagine you do?
wait, what movies do you think I stand up in the middle of the theater and go, "Oh, that was a good origin"? Why am I putting on this whiny American voice? Oh, that was a good origin. That was really good.
I don't know, it's just how I picture you. And quite frankly, it's how most of us picture you.
Oh,
And by
dear.
us, I mean the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure they all do.
Hey, if you
I
disagree with me, hashtag Peter's beginnings.
this is the start of my evil villain origin.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't say I liked it. Honestly, because this all came from the scene where she's looking through the evidence to me, like,
Yeah.
and I complained about this scene before, and for me, this is, and by the time it got to the end, I liked the asylum stuff, like I said, and I liked that she befriended her, and they bring up that because this whole thing she can get into your head, the reason why she still comes back is because she sort of made a connection with her mother, and it's her mother, when her mother gets depressed and she's unstable, that's when she can come back into the world, and that's okay, and then the whole light thing. But as this went on and it got more kind of silly in this
Yeah.
explanation, that's when it started to feel more like something like Darkness Falls or like one of those movies where we've just got this
Yeah.
batshit stupid explanation for whatever's going on, and it kind of that was probably the moment where the movie kind of lost me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It feels like maybe they kind of overcomplicated it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Because
Because, like, just,
I go.
well, just saying, like, yeah, if you just keep that basic part of the origin, like, just like that, like, yeah, she was the mother's friend when she was young that was sensitive to light and stuff. Like, just, yeah, that very simple backstory. Um, even if you wanted to do like some type of, kind of like Jason kind of thing where maybe like, so, some people like, people weren't like paying attention to her and she got bullied and a bunch of kids like exposed her to the sun or something. Even that, like, I would have been okay with. But yeah, what they ended up doing, it was just weird and didn't really fit the rest of the movie to me.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
But-
it did. Oh, do you know what I said? See, as soon
Okay.
as Rebecca said her dad left when she was young, I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
You get killed. They get killed by Diana, just like the stepdad did at the start of the movie, which we didn't even talk about. I have to admit, I mean, they did bring them back a little bit in the basement towards the end of the movie, but I
Yeah.
have to admit, the one thing I remembered from the trailer was mannequins and how creepy
Oh,
they
yeah.
were. And I was kind of upset when we just abandoned that setting of like the
Oh, yeah.
the clothes warehouse or whatever it is he worked at.
Yeah. I thought that the beginning was cool. I like that. It does kind of beg the question though, like how far can Diana travel? Like, can she pretty much like go anywhere?
Seems like it doesn't seem to. I think at night time when it's dark outside she can go away, but maybe
Yeah,
but maybe she has to get back before it's light because she can't travel.
Oh, yeah. Now, what did you think about like the whole angle of her kind of like, almost like weirdly keeping like the mom kind of hostage, and like, the mom, kind of like being her friend and stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like a weird relationship. I found it kind of interesting having like, the them be like being contacted and the mom almost kind of like making excuses for her and stuff.
Yes and no. I think there was times when it went a bit too far, where it took
Hmm.
away from the creepiness a little bit to think that she's just constantly up there with the mum talking to her.
Yeah,
You know, like because once it became clear that, oh wait, so during the day is she just hiding in a closet the whole time? Like,
I
is that what's
guess.
happening? Like, you know, um,
Yeah.
I will say I got really excited at one point because see when they all decide to stay at the house, right? And they
Hmm.
start putting like tape over the switches, and he starts hiding like flashlights
Oh my
in like
God.
places. I was like, oh right, we're about to get good. This is where the rules are
Yeah.
coming into play, and this is where they're going to have a plan. And again,
Mhm.
much like I said, it never just quite hits what I was hoping it was about to. You know?
Yeah, I feel like it never really like it seemed like they were setting up so much stuff. Like it seemed like it was gonna be like a almost like a horror version of like Home Alone with lights, like it was gonna
Mm,
have all these different traps. But then yeah, there really wasn't. And then it also kind of like yeah, I mean I guess this happens in like a lot of horror movies, but it's like it's one of those things where like was like screaming at the characters in my head because it would have been rude to scream out loud, but like I was just like, why the fuck are you not just like taping like flashlights like all over yourself? Like I feel like they were like so underprepared. Like
mm.
yeah, they set up a few things here and there, but they had like that one like power crank flashlight and stuff. Like if you know that you're like going into the belly of the beast, like wouldn't you go to the store and buy like every like high industrial flashlight you could?
Probably. Also, I did think it was a bit weird that there just happened to be a black light in the basement just sitting
Yeah.
around. Like, because most people just have black lights sitting around in their basement.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
I
So, like one single black light.
And the nice thing is there's still lots of good moments like throughout. Like I
Yeah.
really, do you know what bit I really liked? I liked when the boyfriend runs out and he's running to his car, and it's
Yeah.
like there's like either moonlight or streetlight or whatever that's sort of like lighting up
Mhm.
the driveway for the most part. But there's like an arch, and it's when he
Yeah.
runs through the arch he gets grabbed, and I really like that idea that she's like there in the shadows and like that's where she can be,
Yeah,
and
and then
it like because they played with this a couple of times where even at
mhm.
the start of the movie when the stepdad's like there's like that row of lights but there's like darkness in
Yeah.
between each light, you
Mhm.
know, and he has to get through the darkness to the next bit of light. Like I really like that stuff. It was almost a little bit
Yeah.
Alan Wake. I don't know if you played that game.
No.
Where light is what heals you in that game, so you're sort of
Oh,
running
cool.
to the light, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about earlier about how, there's rules, and then, we have this kind of very easy established rule, and now like the point or the kind of the game in the movie should be, how do the heroes use that to the advantage, and then how does, Diana,
Yeah,
try to work around it. And then like yeah, that scene with the boyfriend, that's probably the highlight of the movie for me, because that was like a really cool, it was unexpected. And then
it was unexpected, and then he fixed it because the car was in front of him, so
yeah,
he turned on his car, and the lights made her
and then
disappear, and she instantly disappeared, and
yeah,
he dropped, and it was like, oh, that's cool. Like this is the rules, this is
yeah,
how it works, and
yeah, and that was like a very is one of those things that's like, oh, okay, that's why like this movie should exist. Like that's like what we want to see is these kind of playing around with the rules here. And yeah, and I feel like they didn't. I always said it before, but yeah, like I just feel like they didn't really do like enough of that.
yeah, because another cool moment I really liked is when the cops come over, and the cop shoots at her, and every time he fires a shot, she disappears just for a split second.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like that was a really cool visual. Like you're really playing
yeah.
with this, but unfortunately, by that point, the plot was just not that. Like, because the movie ends, of course, with the mother
Mhm.
realize coming into her senses, not wanting her children to be harmed, and she realizes she's her like Diana's connection, so she shoots herself in the head to make Diana
Mhm.
disappear. And I'm just like, I don't really care. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about you. I'm sorry.
Also, what really bothered me at this point is they were like all, the son, the sister, and her boyfriend. They were like all in the clear, but then the son's like, no, we gotta go back for the mother. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. But I was like, wait, why? Because they've already established that like the mother is like friends with Diana and like yes, it is like kind of an abusive relationship, but she's not gonna kill her.
Because she needs
So
her to
like
exist. Like,
yeah, so like
yeah.
go now,
Come back in
get
the
some
daytime.
yeah, come back in the daytime, get some flashlights, get the medicine that the mother needs to take to get rid of her, and then like problem solved. But no, of course I have to be like, no, no, we got to go back and save her now. That was really frustrating.
Hmm. Yeah. It's kind of an old age thing in horror movies where you do, because you're thinking logically, sometimes the characters can make dumb decisions. And a lot of the time,
Yeah,
I will
that's
forgive
true.
it, because a lot of the time, if you're in that situation, you're not thinking straight. You're panicking, you're running from
Mhm.
something or whatever. But sometimes it is just kind of like, seriously, especially when it comes from a kid. And you think the
Yeah.
adults should turn around and say, no, 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 here's a better plan, but they don't. And the kid is like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the kid the whole time was kind of not annoying. He was annoyingly not a kid.
Yeah.
He was constantly talking about his mother's depression and craziness, and I don't know. He seemed a bit too young for that. See, if he did about 12 to 13,
Yeah.
I'd have bought it a lot more. The way he was like acting.
Mhm.
Um,
I wish he would have talked more about DC. He had like all this DC stuff. Like, why does he never want to talk about it?
Especially since when he runs away from the house and goes back to his sister's place by himself in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, he looks a bit young to be traversing
Yeah.
that. I mean, I don't know how what the distance is like. I have no idea what the geography is
Mhm.
compared to, you even live in LA. You don't even know because you have no idea where these two places are. You know,
Nope.
this house could be anywhere.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I just it was one of those little moments that took me out of it a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's annoying because the movie, like the basic premise of the villain, is actually really good, and there's
Yeah.
moments where it does capitalize on it,
Mhm.
and the characters occasionally aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Like because the moment I was talking about earlier is when you think the boyfriend's abandoned them, but he comes
Oh,
back with the
yes,
cops.
yes.
That was a nice little moment. It was like, oh, he's not a dick. Like
Yeah,
because
yeah, without a doubt.
yeah, for a lot of the movie, I was thinking, he's just a douchebag. He's just here to die in the last act to show
Yeah.
how dangerous she is.
Mhm.
Um, but
Surprisingly, not a very big like death toll in this movie.
nah, just a stepdad and the two cops.
Yeah.
The cops were the fodder because somebody had to die in the last act.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty much they're extremely not useful.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, dear, 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 dear. Anything else you'd like to add to me before we? Anything we've
Uh,
missed?
mm, nothing I can think of. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. Um, I'll tell you this though. If you want to make a bet, I will bet you right now, here on the
Mm-hmm.
internet, that they will make a sequel, and I bet it'll be like Diana, like before, like right before the mom killed herself, like Diana formed a bond with like the older sister or the son or something, and I bet
That
they'll do,
if it's a shit sequel, yes, because
yeah.
that is the shit sequel solution to this.
Yeah, like as soon as I left the theater, I was like, you know what? I feel like it. I mean, it's gonna be like Ring 2. Like it'll be like like Diana
That
will be like possessing the sun now or something. Or
Having said that though, I see much more potential for a sequel to this if they can capitalize on all the things we're talking about. Like if it
oh
turns
yeah,
into Home Alone with lights, like
yeah,
by all means do it. And then even if the reason for her still existing is bullshit at the start, I'll go over it. If the rest of the movie is
yeah.
really fun, I'll get over it. Um,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too with this movie. Like, I could deal with like, the dumb backstory, like somewhat generic characters and all that stuff. If they capitalize on and had more of the other stuff that we love, then that stuff just wouldn't have been so apparent and
hmm,
stood out. But yeah, I mean, if they do a sequel with like a shitty idea, but they do make it super cool, I'd be down.
yeah. However, the title of the sequel must be Lights Out to Electric Boogaloo. I mean, if any movie deserved bringing the Electric Boogaloo title back officially, it was Lights Out to. Let's be honest here.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I one last quick thing I will mention as well. It did, and this is only, this might only go out to me personally, but it reminded me of when I was a kid, and my room, uh, there was a bathroom down the hall, and if I would like wake up in the middle of the night and had to go to the bathroom, I remember like, you know, running from my room to the bathroom and like turning on the light, because like I was like a little kid, you don't like the dark and stuff. So um, one thing I did kind of enjoy throughout the movie, it did give me a little bit of a nostalgic feeling of being a kid and being afraid of the dark and trying to, run into the light when I could.
Yeah. See, when I was a kid, I had balls, so I was never afraid of the dark.
Oh, sure, yeah. When you're like 4 or 5 years old, I'm sure you are very adventurous.
I have no memory of being 5 or 4, Tim. I have zero memory of that age period.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about like when I was like, like 12 or 13 or something. Like, this is like when I was like real young kid, but
Hmm. No, I had balls. No. So there you go.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure you
Um,
did.
yeah. Okay. I think that'll about wrap us up then. So let's get to some biscuits out of 10. So
All right.
ratings, Timmy.
All right. Well, I mean, there's no need to, regurgitate everything you said. I definitely feel that it's like, above average, but again, just shy of being like, really good or great. So I'm gonna give it a very respectable 6.5 in this case.
Um, you're in the ballpark where I'm going to be hitting. I'm going to go with a
Okay.
straight 6.
Okay.
Straight 6. I just like there was a lot of potential there, and I think the
Yeah.
worst feeling for me coming out of this was I could see the potential and it never quite hit what I wanted it to be, and as a result, I can't really give it anything higher than that, which is a shame because it does have so much potential. So maybe a sequel
Yeah.
could take it. Maybe we could get a purge situation where
Yeah.
the sequel really explores the potential. So there you go. So that is Lights Out. The next in what has been a fairly long line of new horror releases this year, and there's more still to come. We've got Blair Witch coming, we've got Don't Breathe coming.
I believe that's this weekend for me.
Yeah, it's another 2 weeks I think before we'll have it on the show, but yeah, so you can look forward to those, and then I think later in the year we've got Rings because we've got a new Ring movie
Oh,
coming
yes.
out, and we also have Ouija 2,
I can't wait.
which I've not seen the first one yet, but we'll be covering the first one before the sequel comes out. So
Ooh. Well, if you liked Annabelle, I'm sure you'll like that one.
words cannot express the dread. I mean, that's the true dread here, is the fear
Yeah.
of watching these really bad ones. I mean, forget how a good horror movie makes you feel. It's the fear of having to watch Annabelle again that truly chills me to my core.
Now, is the reason why you don't like the Annabelle movie is because it made you afraid of your dolls? Oh,
Don't
your fancy, your fancy little dolls that you hide behind your Blu-rays.
I'm a little worried that people are going to start believing your nonsense, Tim. I really am. I'm worried that people are going to actually think I own dolls. Beyond that one Jason Voorhees one that I own proudly, might I add.
Okay,
So
so you refer to it as a doll.
not really, no, but it's the closest thing I have to a doll.
Okay.
All right, Jesus Christ, this has been screams at.
Hashtag Peter's dolls
No,
in the comments.
no. Hashtag Tim's not a professor, as he proved repeatedly this episode. Now,
I will gladly take an IQ test side by side with you, and we'll see,
Oh,
who gets better score.
you could barely finish that sentence in proper English. I've got a feeling I'm going to win, Tim.
We'll see.
Jesus. Oh my god.
If
Well,
you'd like to see us take an IQ test on air, hashtag Tim Smart.
no. Okay, let's wrap this up, Timmy. Let's say our goodbyes and do all that stuff. Let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below or on Twitter and stuff. At mild_fudge, you can get me on Twitter at Wibble89. You can get Tim on Twitter at Tim Vargulish. And check out the other stuff we do. We have regular movie stuff with 1.21 gigawatts. We have TV reviews with Almost Cancelled over on the Mild Fuzz TV channel, as well as the DC Comics podcast. So check that stuff out if you want to. If you don't want to, you just want horror movies, that's fine too. Help out the show by liking, subscribing, 5-star reviews on iTunes, and all that kind of thing. Helps us out a lot. Shares around like a good venereal disease, and yeah.
All right.
Also, check out our friends over at Rowan's Reviews. There'll be a link in the description, and they do written content. They do movies. They do some of the same movies that we do, but they also do albums and concerts and stuff. It's a sort of opinion-pieced website, so you can check out those guys. And I think that's me. I think that's all the plugging I have for you, Tim.
Oh, fantastic.
So, do you know that little thing I always say at the end of the show now, or at least most of the time, where I say don't do something in the dark? It seems especially in context for this movie, because the entire plot is like staying out of the dark.
Yeah.
So, excellent. So I guess I could just say don't exist in the dark. However, I've got something else in mind. I'm going to tailor make it there, right? So,
okay.
Guys, thanks very much for watching. Keep watching the scary movies, and whatever you do, don't take an IQ test in the dark.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You think I'm the dumb one?